All right, everybody, welcome to the Carnivore Community Live. We are now streaming. We have wonderful guests here today. Looking forward to this conversation. We have, of course, some interesting topics based off of all of the past experiences that have happened over the last week and all of the future ones that are coming up, hopefully. So, need I introduce more? We have Mr. Christopher Brandolin. I hope I pronounced that last name properly. We also have Brian with us today and Patrick, both members of the Carnivore community. And let's take it away, boys.
Thanks. Well, thank you for having me, by the way.
Of course, absolutely.
Pleasure, Chris.
We have all been excited to have you on over the last week. It's been a big chat discussion in our community for sure.
Yeah.
So what should I say over the last several days, considering the events that have happened publicly with the entire Kirk story, what have you noticed or experienced about the shift in the public perspective and the way people are handling this particular scenario recently?
Well, I think a lot of it's come down.
Oh no.
I know,
Oh,
I'm
no.
like, no.
Oh no.
Something just froze, didn't it?
All right, cool.
Bugger.
I'm still here.
Oh,
Yeah, you kind of froze there for a minute, buddy.
okay, so it's not just me. All right,
Yeah.
freeze frame. Apparently the internet said no.
Oh.
Okay, I'm not taking on your tech guy. Sorry.
Okay. Am I still, at least can you still watch me? Is it streaming on my end? I get
It's very, very spotty, in and out, kind of jump. Oh, wait, here you are. You're here.
okay.
Nope. Just kidding. Oh,
That
here
was
you are
not
again.
a question you were supposed to ask.
Apparently. I hit a no-no button in the internet world, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay, am I still choppy or no?
Nope, you are good.
Okay.
You sounded. So yeah, you're back. You're back.
All right.
Yes,
Okay.
we're back.
So, as I was saying, the main issue is coming on with, what's getting censored right now. What is free speech?
Go figure you were talking about censorship.
Yeah, I know. I'm totally against censorship, but when you actually have speech that provokes violence, then we have history and we have case law that actually kind of prevents that from happening. And when you're mocking someone's death and when you are advising to take the rest of them out, you are completely going the wrong direction when it comes to, and that is hate speech. And this is where it should be kind of distinguished a little bit, because we do embrace free speech, but when you're recommending and mocking someone's death and you're recommending to take others out, just like people have asked to take me out, then it's completely, counterintuitive to the principles of our Constitution. So yeah, that's what we're facing right now. And I don't know, that's the main thing. But I'm actually part of, a lot of people don't realize that Charlie Kirk was a huge proponent of making America healthy again. And
Absolutely.
I'm part of the Turning Point USA's chapter I volunteer for the Healthy Coalition of Turning Point USA here in Nevada. And that's what we're always been focused on. So we're doing a fundraiser this afternoon, or this evening, I should say, around 5. But we're embracing his ideas because he was, I think, alongside of Bobby Kennedy. He hated the fact that, there was forced vaccination. So it was completely against the founding principles of our country, and probably any kind of ethical principles of any other country too. So it doesn't really matter if you're not in the United States. If you're getting, government mandated healthcare and censorship for speaking out against the healthcare, that becomes an issue. Yeah, and I think I think the whole thing is just, promoting the right kind of values. As I said, you saw the previous post. I got my fair share of death threats and recent threats. And to no surprise, I get a lot of threats. It's not when I just bash the left or anything. It's actually when I embrace God and I embrace health, and I'm anti-vaccines. A lot of far left individuals do not like that, and that's they're like, oh my God, it's almost like some of them were kind of like, banishing people for or bashing people for just saying I do not feel comfortable. We should not force vaccines. If you want to be a sheep, it should be voluntarily. And that's why I spoke out against I was mainly in the Los Angeles Superior Court, and people try to report me to the California State Bar because I was speaking out against the vaccine mandates. Because a lot of the government employees, they had a mandate. And actually I did my dissertation study for my PhD on the vaccine mandates. And specifically, it was in California. It was August 5th, 2021, where they initiated an executive order which required all healthcare workers and all government employees to be vaccinated and to force vaccination. And if you did not get vaccinated, you would lose your job. And a lot of my colleagues are, they're single mothers, they're nurses. You take their jobs away just because they want to look out for their own health, and they can't raise their children. Now you have a huge issue. And then I actually still, even though I bash conventional doctors, I still represent a lot of functional doctors, because there's a huge difference. I consider conventional doctors to be, they don't even ask you about your health or your diet, your lifestyle. They'll reach for the prescription pad right away. And right when you start having some problems, like, oh, okay, joint pain, okay, I'm trying this, and oh, okay, gut pain, I'm having antibiotics, I'm having, laxatives or something like that. I actually represent a lot of functional doctors, and I like them because they think outside the box, just like a lot of carnivore doctors. And that's why I started doing work with Dr. Shafee a few years ago, because I admire what he was preaching, that, he was actually, he and the other carnivore doctors are some of the few doctors that choose, Michael, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Hey, Mike.
They choose to actually think outside the box, even though an institution taught them a specific way of pharmacology for all their problems. And that's why a lot of people refer to Elon Musk's comment, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, where he said, education does not mean intelligence. You can have a bachelor's degree and still be in it. That is still true, but I actually give the most credit for the people that actually go through the education and actually, do further studies beyond that, do the research, or just do testimonials, or do some actual practice with people to see, what? I stopped giving them these pharmaceuticals. I did a test. I just changed your diet. They're completely better, and they don't need to get any pharmaceuticals. Can you imagine if we have the majority of the doctors, not only in the United States, but around the world, that actually try to promote metabolic health and got all of their patients off prescriptive medications, which are making them worse, because prescriptive medications are the third leading cause of death? Of course, it's gonna bankrupt big pharma, but that's what we have to discuss. So, questions. I want to make sure I open my ears and shut my mouth at the same time.
No, this is your platform today. This is your stage. We're just here to support it, for sure.
Absolutely.
So here's a simple question, and then I'll let you kind of ask. But when was the last time you went to a typical doctor, and you told them about problems? Did they? Let's just say, even if it just has to do with gut. Most of the time, it's anything, because whatever you put in your mouth affects your mind and your body, entire head to toe, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say, did they ask you about your diet or your lifestyle? If you're not even getting outside and you're working indoors 10 hours a day and you're playing video games, which is completely ruining our children's health. Do you remember an actual doctor asking you, what do you eat on a typical basis? It does not happen. And this is the biggest issue. And regardless of whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, this is a huge bipartisan topic issue that requires everybody to come together, reach a compromise, get your heads out of your asses, and think of a good way where we can improve not only health for the American public, but the health for the entire world.
I agree with that.
Yeah, because this is worldwide. Yes, 100%, Chris. That's why we set up this community, or why this community came together. It's not just an American problem. This is worldwide. And, the events that happened there and Charlie's death didn't just impact America or the US. It impacted worldwide. And that's why now more than ever, we need to come together and stand for this. You know, we need to stand up and we need to stand behind you. And obviously Bobby as well is doing some great things. So yeah, that's why I'm so behind you, man. And the rest of our little group is also. That's it. Anyone else want to pick it up?
And going into what you said regarding doctors, I've actually found in my personal general practitioner, I mean, she's a vegetarian that goes to vegan conferences. And when I was telling her about my diet, she's just like, you're going to kill yourself. And the reason why I still go to her is because I tell her what tests to run and she figures out a way to code it so insurance will cover most of it, like an LPA2 test. But what I am finding is younger doctors who are coming out of medical school in the last, I want to say maybe 5 years. And of course, depending on the state, they are asking a little bit more questions. Like one of the kids I went to school with, who was in my fraternity, who went on to medical school, he actually has clients that does carnivore, not completely against it, and he himself is actually going through a carnivore trial to see, well, what exactly is this all about? So there are younger doctors who are willing to kind of look at things a little bit differently and test it out to a degree, but it's not the numbers that we need to really be able to start making monumental changes. But it always starts with a little ripple. And I mean, even my mother's doctor, who actually went to medical school with him, I'm looking forward to. I'm going to meet him tomorrow. But I was explaining to him, what I personally do and how I've been able to help people with basically just through diet. And he wants me to come in, and he's really interested in talking to me further. And I'm hoping that it could be information he could take from me that he could either utilize with his patients, or maybe there's some patients he may want to connect with me to try and go on to a more food approach. But I am noticing that something when I started this 3 years ago, there was no doctor that was willing to have the conversation. And now I'm finding that there are some doctors that their ears are open a little bit, not saying they're awake, but it's like they're getting a little bit of a message in their sleep, which is something that it gives me a little bit of hope for the future. But we need to keep pushing what we're pushing and let people keep getting healthy. Because when, like, my barber went to his doctor and his doctor was like, "You're pre-diabetic, what's going on?" He's like, "Well, I've been eating meat." He's like, "Well, whatever you're doing, keep doing it because your blood levels are amazing." And it's those little moments like that, which is what will really get a doctor to start paying attention and start asking their own questions.
Yeah. And maybe it is something to the younger doctors, and maybe it's for men, because when I was a personal trainer, 20 years ago, what was it, 2004 to before I passed the bar exam in 2011, I just remember that when my female clients were older or they got older, they stayed open-minded, but maybe Selena will agree with me. When men get older, they start to get more closed-minded. So maybe it's the younger ones. I
can agree.
Yeah.
It happens.
Not you, Brian, not you.
Come on. I'm the old guy in the bunch. Let's face it.
You are not that old. Not that old.
I saw those gym pics.
Right? Right? He's rocking it over there. Plus, he acts like he's so much older than us. I'm sorry. I have to rag on you a little bit right now. I'm like, you're not more than 15 years older than me.
Who's the youngest? Who's the youngest here? Is not me? No, Michael.
Jonathan.
It's.
Oh, sorry. Here. Okay. Yeah.
I'm probably the youngest here.
I was
but
about to
in our
say
group, Jonathan.
probably Michael.
I just turned 40, so I'm not sure. How old are you, Michael?
I'll be 34 in March.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you are a baby.
But I've been told I have an old soul. So who knows? Who knows how old I really am?
Well, I'm 50. I'm 53. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, a lot of people tell me I'm a 60-year-old mind in a 40-year-old body, just because I don't agree with a lot of my generation, the millennial generation. It's I'm not proud to be a millennial for a lot of reasons. So
yeah.
When I found out that I was classified as a millennial, I was like, no, I'm not. That's not. No. They have the wrong dates. I questioned. Most of my siblings are at least 10 years younger than me. So I questioned when my sister told me that. I was like, lies. I am not a millennial like you. It's just like, no, apparently I am. And I'm like, no, there needs to be a subcategory here because this doesn't fit.
Well, exactly. Well, that's good. I think since, as unfortunate it is with this passing, I think this is a huge wake-up call to the younger generation, to start making changes to their overall values, and not just health, your religious, your family values, and everything else. And I think that's what's creating the movement. You know, what he had like 1.7 million followers before he died, and now he has like 12 million or something like that. This is a huge movement. And I was so encouraged when, you know, it was just so far beyond the United States. It was, you know, you're seeing this in the UK had like a 1 or 2 million people like march. It was incredible. So I think we are creating a movement where it's not just for your own overall health. I think one thing I like about the carnivore community is that we do share a lot of similar values. I'm not expecting you to be a very, you know, far right-wing Christian or a Catholic like myself, but, you know, you can kind of have a better moral conscience to know what's right from wrong. You want the best for your family. You appreciate your family, and you'll do what it takes to take care of your children. You don't see that in a lot of other communities. I'm going to say, especially, you know, the vegan community of like, you know, the moment like if you have vegan parents, you can be very concerned about their children, especially if they want to basically push that type of agenda, which is going to malnourish them. But yeah, there's a lot more respect for community. And myself, I'm not sure if I told you in like the prior chat or live podcast, Michael, but, you know, when I had to get better, I'm in a family of attorneys of judges. I'm the youngest, but, you know, my father and all of his brothers are attorneys and judges. And when I decided to save the rest of my intestines, and I said, because first they're the ones that said, don't listen to anybody, listen to your doctors. I'm like, I think I'm getting worse from my doctor. Yeah, they cut my intestines open, and then they had to recut it open 2 more times in the same spot, which left some very painful scar tissue that I had to deal with for many years afterwards. It took like, you know, 7 or 8 years to kind of deal with. But when I started looking outside the box, and I told them, I was like, no, I think I really just got to eat no vegetables. I'm doing a lot better on meat. They completely shunned me out. And then when I decided to go over to Budapest, Hungary, you know, to treat with Dr. Sophia Clemens, she's my hero because she's the one that really kind of put me on tight. Like, you know, they were doing clinical trials on, you know, on meat-based diets, putting so many conditions and even diseases in remission. Is that, you know, that's why I gave them so much respect, and that's why I treated with Dr. Sophia Clemens. But my family completely shunned me and banned me and would refuse to speak with me just because I didn't want to see my doctors again. And you know what? If I didn't make the decision to go and carnivore or go over to Budapest, Hungary, and learn like the real benefits of a meat-based ketogenic diet, I wouldn't be here today. And then, yeah, when I started preaching an all-meat diet, I mean, and when I was against vaccines, my family completely banned me. I think I've already admitted, for like 2 holiday dinners, they refused to invite me to a holiday dinner because I refused to get vaccinated.
Wow.
So
Wow.
you see my experience having your intestines cut open and having like a good life before that when I was a very competitive bodybuilder and I was a social butterfly in college having a lot of fun. But all of a sudden you're like strapped to like a hospital bed in and out for like 6 to 8 months. And you know, you're ruined from doctors, and ruined from pharmaceuticals because pharmaceuticals kind of led to the surgeries. And all of a sudden your family bans you from holiday dinners because you refuse to get vaccinated. How do you think that would make you feel? So you can see why I am so much more appreciative that even though I love my family, I really hope they find Jesus and can really get their heads out of their asses. You know, the carnivore community is my real family. They're the ones that supported me. And when I was so impressed with Dr. Sophia Clemens that she was reaching out to me even after I returned to the United States to make sure I was doing better, that I was continuing it. And you would never have any fucking doctor in the United States do the same shit. I'm sorry.
Oh, no,
you know, not
not.
conventional, but maybe you have like doctors. But that's where like it made me more passionate. I was like, dude, like I saved my life after getting banned from my own family, and this is why I'm so passionate to get the vaccines because I have a personal bias. I was personally wrecked from from pharmaceuticals. I never, even though I went through probably especially having. Waking up from my intestinal surgery prematurely while they're sewing up my intestines because they didn't give me enough anesthesia. And even the second and third time when they recut open my intestines where I was fully awake, you can imagine how much fucking trauma I went through. And that's why not only am I an adrenaline junkie, you know, they say you feel pain before you feel anger. I'm past the pain. I'm at the anger. I want to make some changes. I want to make sure no one has to go through the same bullshit that I had to go through.
Absolutely. What was the name of the institute in Hungary? Because if I'm thinking it's the same one, they also utilize organ meats as well within their dietary plan. I'm pretty sure I've heard of it.
So They're not doing so many like in-person clinical work right now. They're just spending most of their time on clinical trials, but
Yeah.
they're actually having the clinic, and it was the Paleomedicina Clinic, which is
Yes.
also known as ICMNI, and it was started by Dr. Sophia Clemens. And at the time when I went over there, she was married to Dr. Saba Toth. But ever since they, separated, I just stayed with Dr. Sophia Clemens, and we still speak with this day. I even told her I'm going to try to visit her during my campaign because I haven't really been over to Budapest for 7 years. But yeah, I actually stayed over there with like a group of like 10 people, just random from Europe. I think I was the only American. There's 2 people from Ireland. There's a couple people from Italy, and there's a couple people from Spain, and there's 2 people from Germany. But we all kind of came together because we just found them, and we always we all had, even though they didn't have the same gut issues, they had some kind of conditions that they wanted to cure naturally without pharmaceuticals, and we all got better.
That's amazing. I even heard, I believe that institute also had some success with different cancers as well. If my memory serves me correctly.
Cancer, they actually had clinical studies where they put colon cancer in remission with a meat-based ketogenic diet.
Isn't that amazing?
You can't say you cure cancer.
Excuse me, who would have thought of that?
Yeah.
Right? I thought you need chemo, right? Like, come on, you need poison to cure cancer.
Come on, Salisbury figured this out a long time ago.
Or,
we've all seen it.
I'm not sure if you know of Dr. Thomas Seyfried, the research doctor out of Boston College, who spoke about, he focuses on the fact that cancer is a mitochondrial disease. Yeah. And he has a specific treatment protocol which does not require any chemotherapy or radiation treatment. I had the opportunity to speak with him at the same panel because right after my 40th birthday, June 28th, Dr. Kiltz in the Healing Humanity group invited me to be a speaker out in Boston, so I flew out there. I think that's when I probably broke up with my girlfriend at the time. She didn't like the fact that I wasn't spending my birthday with her, and I spent it with I was like, no, my carnivore community is my heart. They invited me to speak. I'm flying out there. She's like, this is fucker. Exactly.
She's not supporting carnivore, fucker. Get rid of her.
But anyways, what he does, Dr. Seyfried, I think a lot of people should acknowledge this. He has so much literature on this, but what he does is he says it's a mitochondrial disease, and the main things that are feeding a lot of the cancer is sugar. And when you put people on a very strict ketogenic diet without any chemotherapy or radiation treatment, and he also does a limitation of glutamate, but he thought it's basically a different kind of form of glutamine. It's kind of a more dangerous form, but he says when you think of the diversity of amino acids in any kind of meat, it's not focused on one amino acid. This is the most nutrient-dense healing. And what he would do is he would basically restrict their sugar intake and restrict their amount of glutamine, just focus on just meats. And then he would incorporate medical grade hyperbaric oxygen therapy, which I also use to heal because, look, that's most of the least invasive type of healing that you could do. So if you guys are not familiar with hyperbaric oxygen therapy, you lay in a chamber, but you got to use it. Very familiar. Because there's a levels of atmospheric pressure. It's how much oxygen is infused into the chamber. So if you go to a cryotherapy or a chiropractor, they typically have these zip up chambers that you lay in, okay? And but we call those soft chambers. They may have a little bit of an anti-inflammatory effect because you're getting more oxygen, because a lot of us are oxygen deprived. If you go to a medical grade chamber, it puts so much oxygen in the chamber that you feel that you're 15,000 feet high up in altitude, so much pressure that you have to move they recommend chew your gum, but I don't chew gum, so I just kind of move my ears once in a while. But your ears are start to pop because it is so much pressure that it's pure oxygen they infuse. So this is why I promote oxygen in meat, and this is why I'm against those stupid masks, by the way, too, is that if you go to the medical grade oxygen, it goes to 2.0 atmospheric units, which at that point, not only is it become antimicrobial and antiviral to kill off really severe infections in your body. You can kill off infections with oxygen, but it also stimulates the angiogenesis in your body, which is what they are doing with peptide therapy, because angiogenesis is the creation of red blood vessels to kind of regenerate tissue. So if you have a non-healing wounds, diabetic ulcerations, where someone's about to get their legs cut off from an amputation, these, a lot of diabetic people, they'll have to have their legs cut off. I've met over a dozen people that basically canceled their amputations from their legs out in Orange County, California, by doing 2 to 3 times a week of medical grade hyperbaric oxygen therapy. You just lay in a chamber with a lot of oxygen. You do it 6 to 8 weeks and you completely heal. So imagine if we had no medications, we just gave everybody lots of meat and oxygen and nothing else, and everybody healed. Wow, sounds like a really good society, right?
How is Pfizer going to make money off of that? And if people aren't understanding the science, cancer loves sugar and it loves to not have an oxygen environment. So if you eliminate those two things, you're basically starving it out, which is why this is so important.
So a lot of people, I have something to kind of add to that, like in addition to that, a lot of people about 15 years ago, it's been going on longer than that, but about 15 years ago, it started to become more widely aware of people starting to do ozone treatments. And
I do ozone therapy as well. I actually I represent ozone doctors actually too.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that was something that I know when my mom started bringing that into, like our awareness and family, like this is something you can do. These are options you can have. That's one of the things that actually helped my dad save his leg before amputation, which is
So if you know that when your body gets really inflamed, okay, do not talk about infected, just very inflamed, okay, your body will create, you'll have more diseases and conditions that create itself because inflammation can, create all these subsets of different diseases. Right. I actually, after they cut my intestines open, I actually developed a skin disease, which actually can be fatal. And it's called pyoderma gangrenosum. Okay, so pyoderma, think of derma, skin, right? And gangrenosum, like gangrene. Basically, your body will start developing ulcerations on your limbs. I didn't get on my face and anything else, but I started having like these ulcers all over my body. And it would start off as a bruise, and then it would open up. And I got it so bad to a point after the surgery, and I told this to Dr. Shafee about 2 to 3 years ago, I had a big ulcer right on the side of my hip. And I was just trying to like pass myself up like a mummy and just kind of tape because I didn't when I was using Neosporin and all that, was just created more infection and all that. I actually put my finger inside the wound and I can feel my fucking hip bone. That's how bad it was. Wow. So you can imagine how bad I was after this gut surgery. I was a complete wreck. And this is maybe I'm a little bit more passionate because I'm so kind of pissed at what happened to me. But what I did with I met with one doctor who was a dermatologist. He's no longer practicing, but he was a dermatologist for the PGA Tour for all the professional golfers. He said, look, I'm going to recommend something, but your insurance is not going to pay shit. Okay. So he studied this in Europe because most of the time, you study outside the box. He's like, hyperbaric oxygen therapy has been one of the few things that actually treat that condition. But the reason I'm mentioning this is because ozone therapy is another form of oxygen-based therapies. Ozone is O3, oxygen's O2. So the third element of oxygen is actually can proven to be kind of not only just antibacterial, because that's what ozone therapy people for Lyme disease and a lot of other infections, even cancers, they do ozone therapy. You can do a single pass where you pull out a pint of blood and you put it back in, or you can do it 10 times, which they call a 10 pass, or you can they have EBU, which is that extra blood corpulated, where they basically filter out your blood and ozone at the same time. Yeah, but ozone and oxygen is two things that I promote, and that's why I actually represent a lot of these ozone and hyperbaric doctors, is because they're doing like a natural form of treatment, just getting your body more oxygen. So that's a huge point that you bring up, is that cancer cannot survive if you have like a huge amount of oxygen in your body. It survives when cancer survives when your body is oxygen deprived. And this is part of my research, Dr. too, is because I was doing basically in part of my dissertation, I was studying just public health. I studied probably a couple thousand journals.
And then when this is done, I sent you a message. I want to get a little bit more of an understanding on that, because I actually think my mom was having a lot of issues where she basically has nerve damage, and they've done all these different stimulators. And since she's had like 4 surgeries, and since then she has all these red blood spots that pop up. Dermatologist has no idea what it is. Some of them open up, but not to the extent of what you're saying, where you can push it all the way in. And I'm curious if maybe some information that you have could potentially, because she just doesn't know what to do with it. So I'll chat with you after this. I know you have another thing, but we'll message back and forth.
Yeah, I know. Don't worry. So the next thing is 12. But by the way, my next thing afterwards, it's a free legal seminar, but I didn't realize it's for actually Dr. Kiltz reserved this for his health coaches because Dr. Kiltz has the Kiltz tribe.
Yeah.
But what I'm going to do for the community, I'm going to do another additional free legal seminar for all the carnivore community. And it's going to be basically on medical disclaimers for health coaches, how to prevent yourself from getting in trouble with the medical board of whatever state you are in the United States or even international by the proper terminology that you use for health coaching, because you cannot prescribe, you cannot treat. There's a lot of limitations. So there's a lot of people that, even though they're not doctors, they will get basically sanctioned and basically fined from the medical board of any kind of state of the 50 states for practicing medicine without a license if they say that they treat a condition.
Yeah.
Can I jump in, guys?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry, just for a second. We're about the halfway mark here, and we've said that we'll try and let some others on. Selena, is there anybody waiting in the wings?
There's nobody who has logged in to be here yet. So it's just us at the moment.
You're fine with staying.
Just let us know
if you want to stay.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Absolutely. Yeah. Just wondering, because that's part of what we do.
Do you know?
To try and get as many involved, but.
Do you know if on StreamYard, because I know on Instagram Live you can only have 4. Is there a maximum to how many you could have in the StreamYard streaming?
I don't honestly know.
Because for potentially when we do it this way, we may not have to log off as much. I know I'm streaming this to my live, and we could all stream it to our live as well while we're doing this.
We need to look into it.
And potentially, Christopher, if there's some like blanket forums that we could have, like maybe we could let that live on the Carnivore community link tree. So like people
that's
who are
what I'm
looking
going to
forward,
try to kind of develop. I'm going to put them together too. So
amazing.
And by the way, going back to your comment, Michael. So hyperbaric oxygen therapy, the main focus is. Because you have ozone and hyperbaric oxygen therapy. They're 2 different type of oxygen-based therapies. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy is more of the stronger kind of recommended for the strongest anti-inflammatory kind of method. Even though it does treat different kind of like infections, but ozone is mainly towards the infections that because it's antimicrobial, it's antiviral, it's antifungal, and it's antiparasitic. But the main focus for hyperbaric oxygen therapy is actually non-healing wounds. So if your mother has or any family members are having some wounds that are not healing, that is one of the main purposes of hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So
amazing. Yeah, I first came across it with a Chinese doctor, Eastern doctor. His name's Dr. Walter Campbell. If you look him up on Google, it's like he's been known for like curing blindness. The guy is a little bit of I wouldn't say a conspiracy theorist, because I don't think that's a terrible thing these days. It turns out it's more like a spoiler alert.
Conspiracy theorist extremist, according to some of the recent hate mail that I got. But
yeah, when COVID was coming out, he's like, I'm getting together with all these doctors and we're trying to figure out a formula to combat what's going on with this vaccine, because it's going to hurt so many more people. And this was like right when it was getting rolled out. Like this guy was just on it. And that was the first time I came across the hyperbaric chamber, because he had one in his office where, I mean, every time you went in, it was like that was one of his protocols for a lot of people that just could not have things resolved. So
it's got to be we call it a hard chamber, but a medical grade chamber that goes at least 2.0 atmospheric units. In certain conditions, they'll go like a really high oxygen levels. I think when I was really having the skin disease, I should have put it, because I started going carnivore diet in 2018, and I was getting better with the meat, but to really because the skin was so damaged from these ulcerations that I actually I think they put me at 3.0 or almost 3.0 atmospheric units, was a lot. So you actually, if you get so much oxygen you're not used to it, you actually get very nauseous and sick. They almost call it like a die-off, like a Herxheimer reaction, right? So if you may know, the Herx reaction is what Dr. Herxheimer from Germany, he indicated that when you're killing off infections in your body naturally just feels like crap. So I remember a couple of times when they gave me a lot of oxygen, like you go 60 to 90 minutes once it gets to that level of pressure. I remember that I got out of the chamber and I felt like I was going to throw up because I felt so sick, but I think it's because it killed off a lot of infections and I just was not used to that much oxygen. But I was like dry heaving. I was like, but a couple hours later it settles in. But there's also, what I can also do too is I can send you there's a database where you can find all the medical grade hyperbaric oxygen chambers and technicians, because they have to be educated properly, because there is proper education on medical grade hyperbaric oxygen therapy. That they have a database wherever you are in the United States, actually international too. I think it's an international database, so it doesn't matter if you're in Canada or in Europe or Australia. And yeah, and I actually go when I'm in California. I have a couple locations that I use, and right here in Las Vegas, there's actually, like I think it's like probably like 6 minutes away. I go to what's called Desert Moon Wellness, and they actually have like 4 medical grade hyperbaric oxygen chambers. And when I go on Saturdays sometimes, or even throughout the week, I actually occasionally see some of the UFC fighters, because actually all the UFC fighters in Las Vegas, because Las Vegas is the main part of the UFC, a lot of them move out here. A lot of them go. I think it was like Nick and Nate Diaz go out there. There's a couple other ones. Jiri, so because you put your body through so much training and like dance, like they're doing like triple days. They put whenever you train that hard, it's good inflammation, but you are creating inflammation to heal yourself faster. You lay in a medical grade hyperbaric oxygen therapy, so that's why a lot of athletes using it, and that's why I think LeBron uses it, and Tom Brady was using it for the last couple of years before he retired. Yeah, so all these athletes, it's not just for really sick people; it's for people that want to like regenerate faster. And I have to do that.
Christopher, can I ask you a question about this, please? Because I'm a retired diving instructor, and I was taught when I did that when you're at 1.6 partial pressure under full 100% oxygen, you actually risk oxygen toxicity, central nervous system toxicity.
Well, it depends.
How would that work when you're at 2 or even 3 partial pressure?
So oxygen toxicity is always based by that specific person, and they always have contraindications by your condition. So when you fill out a form or they ask you about your medical questionnaire, there are certain conditions where too much oxygen will actually be counterintuitive, and that's where you can risk. So I know for a fact that for a lot of the traumatic brain injury, TBI, you do not want too much oxygen. You actually want smaller amounts of oxygen. And that's probably one of the few times, I think it's Dr. Daniel Amen out of California, because I know the Amen family very well, Amen Clinics. They recommend a low dose oxygen at 1.3 or 1.2 for a longer period. So it's almost like, if you do 60 to 90 minutes and 2.0 atmospheric units or 2.5, that's probably equivalent to doing like 2 hours in like a softer chamber or less oxygen. So he actually, for a lot of it, because he's the brain doctor of the country, right? Dr. Daniel Amen. So I think what he focuses on like 1.2 to 1.3 for all the people that have traumatic brain injuries. So sometimes if you have this very specific condition, they will reduce the amount of oxygen, but they still want you to get oxygen, because I think 99% of the people are oxygen deprived.
Do you think part of the reason why you felt that way when you came out of the hyperbaric chamber for that first time at that level is because the body craves homeostasis? So when you're sick, your body figures out a way to get to that equalized level. So when you're introducing something completely new, it's like your body's like,
I think
shit.
It was definitely a shock therapy. I can tell you that. I was like, what the hell happened? So yeah.
Right.
But the problem is insurance does approve medical grade hyperbaric oxygen therapy, but only for very specific conditions. The FDA has kind of like, a very limitation, and your health insurance will actually have like a set of conditions that they will pay for a medical grade hyperbaric oxygen. If you go to the major hospitals, they charge your insurance companies like a couple thousand, but I know a lot of these clinics around the United States, and I use it because I'm licensed in Texas, so I go back and forth to Texas, and I use it in Nevada, and I use it in California, and sometimes when I go to Arizona, I use it there. Usually if you pay out of pocket to these private clinics that do the hyperbaric oxygen therapy, the most you'll be paying is probably $250 to $300. But your health insurance company, they will charge these large hospitals like St. Joseph's out of Orange County, California. They actually have a wound healing center where a lot of people after surgeries or after chemotherapy, because one of my ex-girlfriends is a radiation oncologist. I don't know why I dated all these doctors, but maybe it's because they screwed me and I wanted to get them back. But anyways, but she actually, I'm still friends with her, but she's actually one of the few radiation oncologists that sends her patients after she focuses on breast cancer, like a really double like mastectomy. It's a lot of damage to a female, and they got to heal. So she's one of the few doctors says, I want you to heal after this. So whether it's chemo, radiation, or whether we have to cut you open. So she sends them to the wound healing center, and they usually, after those type of conditions, especially after chemotherapy, radiation, your health insurance will pay for it. So the big facility, they will charge your health insurance, whether it's Anthem, Blue Cross, whatever you have, or even Kaiser sometimes, they will charge them like $2,000 a session, and your insurance will pay for it, which is awesome because at least even though they're overcharging, you won't have to pay anything out of pocket. But the only thing is, it's so very nailer, and this is why I believe most health insurance companies are crooks, just like a lot of doctors who are pushing the pharmaceuticals.
Oh, 100%. How many people go for insulin at Walmart, and if they're not insurance, it's like $50 or whatever it is. But then if you're going through your insurance, they're getting hit with like $1,000 for the same prescription.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is why we need to crack down. And actually, this is why I think I like Bob. Bobby Kennedy's not going all carnivore. He's not complete carnivore. I mean, he still enjoys it. And even when I met him in person, he was having some other foods too. But he's getting some of the main basics that our country needs, and I think the entire world needs. I don't care if you're not in the United States. I don't care if you're in Canada, in Europe, or in Asia, or Australia. Is that we're kind of basically making it more affordable and more realistic for your country, if you have health insurance, that you're not going to be paying an arm and a leg for your health insurance, and that they're going to be proving things that are actually going to work for you. Because right now, health insurance companies, I almost call them accomplices to murder with the pharmaceutical companies, because the pharmaceutical companies. Biotech
crazy.
companies are the same thing, and I dated some people in the biotech companies too, but I kind of bashed them. I was like, she's like, well, you're an attorney, you're gonna, no one likes attorneys. You're gonna burn it. Hell, I was like, well, you know what? Attorneys, we screw people for a living. Screw them out of finance. We get a big judgment, but I don't kill people for a living, so I think I can live with it.
Yeah, and what I'm curious is how we can politically, because the issue is so many people running for public office get such large donations from all of these different groups, insurance companies, yada yada yada. How can we ever implement real change at a political level if everybody's in their pockets to begin with?
And that's
who's going to bite the hand that feeds them?
Yeah, there's a few people that are actually pushing this too. Is that I think it was it Rand Paul and a few others that they want to make a movement or an act to basically restrict pharmaceutical companies from donating to the political candidates. I did I'm not sure if you saw my separate video. And
advertising on commercials.
Exactly. I was just about to say that. Yeah.
Them and lawyers and pharmaceuticals should not be allowed to advertise, period. Like everyone's so happy because they think they're going to get a payout, and no one wants to work this anymore. So the moment they have an opportunity, join this class action law. I actually had a friend in college, not going to say names, but like he's just hop on class actions because no one would really look into who's in every class action, and it'd be a way to sometimes just get free money. Like everybody's looking for a handout these days versus working hard for it, which is what America's all about. You want something, you work for it, and when you get it, you appreciate it that much more.
And the problem is, and this is maybe why I'm a very strong right-wing Republican. I don't want my tax dollars paying for these fucking free handouts while people sit on their ass and do shit.
Yeah, exactly.
And like I mentioned when we were talking on Sunday, it's like we need to stop having our tax dollars going to subsidize, the sugar industry, the soybean industry. It needs to go to the regenerative farming industry, the cattle, the industries that actually benefit America, benefits the earth because it's more carbon trapping than anything else. I mean, if you're tilling soil, you should not be getting a dime from the American tax dollars.
Exactly.
Period. There's ways.
Actually,
to make it all
did you guys see the announcement from Bobby Kennedy today about the investment?
I saw McDonald's is investing like
McDonald's are investing $200 million,
which scares me, honestly, because
it's kind of hard to know how to take that exactly. I mean, I'd prefer.
I would never think of McDonald's being that into like farming. Where
I think it's a squeeze opportunity for them because think about it. Look how many real regenerative farmers there are in America. So now this big guy's coming in saying, "Hey, you don't have to worry about anything. You have a fixed income. You're going to supply to us." Now people like us who are trying to get true regenerative farm meat might have a lower availability to it. So now we're going to start getting charged up the yin yang because there's not as much opportunity. So like every time I see something like that, I'm like, what's the real basis of this play here?
Well, that's why
it looks like a play. Yeah.
There's good and there's bad types of regulations, because the bad types of regulations is that, my goal is to make meat affordable again, right? I want to make America great again. I want to make America healthy again.
Well,
I do have
that's why we're here.
With a couple of farmers. I'm actually going to do a couple more podcasts with the farmers because I'm trying to put together a very good protocol on basically reducing the average price of meat, because we saw the biggest surge going through the Biden's term. In Biden's term in the United States, we had the greatest surge in prices for meat, poultry, and eggs. And that's why I kind of tell people is if you're a carnivore, you want to make it meat affordable, maybe you should reconsider your political beliefs, because this is what your party is doing. And but there is a protocol. It's not just the easiest way is just farm to table. Basically, is the best way. If you directly support your American farmers, it's going to create an effect on the supply and demand, and you will see it. So we need more people buying direct farmers. And I buy from about 20 to 25 different farms throughout the year. And I usually, if I buy chicken, I actually have there's probably maybe 1 to 2 dozen farms that there's farmers that have soy-free and corn-free chicken and eggs. They don't feed them any corn and soy. And that is why pork and poultry are more inflammatory than beef, because they're a monogastric stomach system. They have single stomach systems, just like humans, just like you and I. So cows, if you give them a little bit of soy and corn, it's still not the best, but they can break it down better because they have a multiple stomach system. I think they have like 4 to 7 different.
Four, and their fat store is less than 3% linoleic acid, which is like nothing.
Yeah. But that's why the omega 3 to 6 ratio is a lot higher, a lot worse in chicken and pork and poultry than beef, is because even if it's corn fed, it's still actually not too much worse. But chicken and pork, I know that if I eat like a really shitty brand of a chicken or pork, I feel like crap. But if you actually eat corn free, and this is why I enjoyed pork when I was in Budapest, Hungary, because their favorite food is pork, and they do not feed, and they actually had a pig farm right behind the clinic, and they do not feed any of their pigs corn or soy. They basically, it's like acorn, squash, and insects, and that's what they eat naturally. That's what they should be eating. But when you feed them cornmeal and soy meal, it's a very cheap feed, and that's why they do it in abundance, because it's just, we don't have to like pay that much to raise these pigs or chickens. We just give them a bunch of corn and soy. But that is why corn and soy is more inflammatory. So I actually recommend for a lot of people, if they're going to do corn and soy, find a soy-free or corn-free meat. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's, to be honest with you, it's more soothing for me. I actually feel better.
Yeah, I know one farm.
Can I jump in?
Yep.
Yeah.
Can I jump in for a second? This is related to your post earlier, Chris, about a species-appropriate diet. Your dog, you posted one about giving your dog the raw meat. And I know that if you recall my response to that, my comment on it, the dogs are, and I have the right man on here in Patrick. Dogs are the same as us. They are. Am I right here, Patrick?
Facultative carnivores.
Facultative carnivores.
Obligate and facultative carnivores, but felines are hyper carnivores. That's what I understand. I
just wanted to bring that up.
I met a carnivore veterinarian at a wedding in Houston, Texas, like a couple years ago. And we had, I kind of ignored the entire wedding, like the winter party. We had just like the longest conversation. I was like, man, I found the only other carnivore in this wedding out of a couple hundred people, and she's a veterinarian. I'm like, we need more carnivore veterinarians. This is amazing.
Absolutely.
But she told me that basically the dogs are basically almost predominantly, predominantly carnivore, raw.
Yeah.
But she said, but like felines, cats, they're hyper carnivores. They do
absolutely
off of pure meat and nothing else.
We've discussed this so many times in the community comments or in the community chat that that's why domestic animals are having the same problems as we are, because they're getting the processed foods.
They're getting domesticated just like humans.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Well put.
So, and I actually did a separate video on this. Is that why? What happened a couple thousand years ago is that the Romans, they would have farm dogs and they would have war dogs that they used for war. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So the farm dogs, they would domesticate them. They would actually feed them like barley soaked in milk and a lot of just grains, because grains were, the agricultural evolution that happened before too. But anyways, they would give them that. But then for the war dogs, they would give them raw meat and garlic and nothing else. And it was the most kind of like, and that was the strongest animal, because they want to have some animal they can control. But for war dogs, they would just let the dogs out first against their enemy. War dogs.
I bet they would starve them before war as well.
Yeah,
that would make them hungry for meat.
I'm not saying like raw meat's going to make your dog go crazy and start killing people, but it makes the dog stronger though.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, you saw the advantage when you changed the diet for your own dog. That was amazing.
Yeah.
And I know you were talking to Jonathan lately. He snuck. He did a sneaky one on his dad's cat. Do you remember that, guys? Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was asked to babysit his dad's cat for a couple of weeks when he went on holidays.
I remember that.
Do you remember this? Yeah, and he fed him nothing but minced meat. Now, it's an older cat, but when Jonathan was done with him after the 2 weeks, he dropped about 20 years. He was running around the place. This guy
turned into a kitten.
Yeah, exactly. He just regained life again. Because Jonathan decided to feed him only raw meat.
Lived the cat's life
for the 2 weeks. Yeah.
And you know what? If you see vegans giving the animals, that's like, I always call it basically child abuse. If you have a vegan parent like forcing their kids to eat.
Absolutely.
But the same applies to a vegan dog or cat owner who's trying to feed vegetables. I'm like, you're fucking killing your dog or cat. You know that, right? You're
That's exactly what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to go back to when you said when you ate really bad quality pork or chicken, how it really affected you. I think one of the things we need to work on in America is, and it's almost every state has it legal, but when you go to like Whole Foods and they're slaughtering up their cuts of meat and they're throwing in the trash bag, they also throw in their gloves, they throw in the plastic, and they harvest all of that. They grind it up into almost looks like a hot dog mesh. And that's feed for pigs. And that is completely legal in almost every state in America. It's legal in Florida where I live. I was talking to my Whole Foods butcher. He's like, yeah, that's where it goes to. And people are not realizing like that is the food that their food source is eating. And then when they're being fed that corn and soy, that's glyphosate, crap corn and soy that couldn't come to market. So, I mean, it's going to affect your glutathione production.
And they don't have to disclose this. And this is where we need good regulations to make sure that you're getting cleaner damn food on your plate. Mm-hmm. And we're also trying to allow vaccinations or vaccines, mRNA vaccines for a lot of cattle without disclosing it to the public. Now we're having this question about those people that have that alpha G or alpha gal that allergic to meat. Yeah, there's a theory behind it. I think it's actually logical, is that we're kind of injecting crap into the cattle and it's actually making people like naturally allergic to it. Maybe they're trying to make us vegan bitches. I'm not sure.
Well, that's been their goal. Vegan bitches were sick and we're controllable.
Their political agenda, right? They want us to cut off our wieners, and they don't want us to praise God. And
that's why I love you, man. Fucking hell.
A horrible political agenda, right?
I mean, Bill Gates has been modifying mosquitoes. Why wouldn't he modify a few ticks and let it go? And now it's spreading to parts of the country that they said it wouldn't go. Like Martha's Vineyard. I mean, apparently people are getting alpha-gal syndrome from that tick left and right. The Lone Star tick.
Yeah.
I mean, it just fits the narrative.
I wouldn't be.
Brian, do you know if this is the same in Europe as well? I mean, we hear the stories coming out from the States, and to me, it sounds like it's a whole different world. Is it truly a different world, or don't we just know about this in Europe? Do you reckon this is happening here too?
I don't know. I mean, nothing would surprise me anymore, Patrick, because, it seems like what happens in the States happens in Europe like a month later. I don't know. But it's just unbelievable, isn't it?
No, but when like what Michael said, I mean, that was really shocking to hear that they chuck all this leftover meat, including their gloves, crap, and they feed it to animals.
Okay.
Do you? Well, but that for me was like, this sounds like a science fiction movie.
Did you see the report?
I don't believe it.
Autopsies of people's brain, and they're finding so much microplastic in people's brains these days. I mean, it's all coming from the food we're eating.
You see, it's difficult to say whether it's happening here or not. But the problem is that we're importing so much stuff from South America, from these big feedlots and all that kind of stuff, and we don't know where it's coming from. So whether it happens here in Europe or not, I don't know. I can't say. It's not something I've looked into very much. I only buy from regenerative farms, as you know, Patrick. We've met up. And Yeah, it's a tough one, guys.
I
What's your
just got
thoughts?
back from Switzerland, and it's amazing. You go on the corn, you go on the
Of course,
train, and all you see is corn. Corn is being grown everywhere, and that's
It's
not
a
a native
very
crop.
cheap, abundant crop that you can make money off of. So that's
Yeah.
why they prefer it, and that's why
Yeah.
it's actually the most industrialized crop right now is corn, especially not just in the United States. It's like around the world.
Yeah.
So,
But not only that, Michael. I did a reel a while back while I was traveling through France this summer, and you got all these fields. I don't know if you've seen that reel, but all these fields, and they're just empty. And the reel is like, where are the cows? I mean, we have so much space. There could be loaded. I'm sure there's a certain number of cows you can have per square meter or whatever, but it's just all empty. And
They say
the
one
only
cow
thing
per
you
acre.
see is
It's the
Say
same
again?
here in the Netherlands. It's just all flat land. Just it's all arable crops, and it's monocropping for miles. Okay, some of it is tulips here in the Netherlands.
So,
But yeah, go ahead,
real
Chris.
quick. So, last few minutes, and then I gotta do that legal seminar.
Yeah, we're going to close it down. Selena said she had to go. Oh, there she is. Yeah.
Oh, she's back. By the way, so before I dismiss, I'd be happy to come on anytime. So, there's
definitely.
168 hours in a week. I only need 4 to 5. I know I probably need to work on that, but I'm always flexible. But I'd be happy to come on again. Do you guys have any other kind of comments or questions before I leave off? And you can always reach out to me because I'm responsive.
Yes, I know that, buddy, and I feel like you're a friend at the moment because we interact a lot, and appreciate that.
And we share similar values, I can tell.
Exactly,
We all do.
and I want to guarantee you that you have the full support of the carnivore community.
So just remember,
if
someone shoots me, because I got more than one threat so far. I just want to make sure that everybody's carry it forward. I'm not gonna.
We're going to carry it on.
100%.
absolutely.
And here's to Charlie. We all were saddened by his loss.
Folks, I'm gonna depart so I can jump on for Kiltz's seminar. Invite me anytime. I look forward to speaking to you guys soon. Okay, and thank you so much for having me.
Take care, Chris.
It was a
Absolutely.
Pleasure to talk to you.
I think we're going to go ahead and shut it down ourselves, guys.
Yep.
As that has been a very informative talk today, for sure.
That was a lot of talking.
Yeah.
That was,
That was a lot of talking in a short space of time.
If you're streaming on your live and your live stream, I just ended mine. If it's on.
Actually, as soon as I hit the end, it will end. So I'm going to go ahead and tell everybody who's watching. See you guys next time.